To this now, and it's a story coming out of Parliament. We're building up to it. The Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is set to deliver his maiden medium-term budget statement later today. He will be speaking on the projected policy direction for the next 3 fiscal years. The economy has already suffered heavy blows from the coronavirus pandemic, and the question is, will the minister maintain the fiscal path set by his predecessor, Tito Mboweni? Well, let me take you to ENCA's Ropiwa Madzena from the ENCA Money Desk. And Ropiwa, I suppose one of the matrices that we are always watching is the matrix of debt to GDP. It would seem some positive news in that regard, not necessarily meaning that we owe people less, but calculated as a proportion of our GDP, which has been rebased. There's a slight improvement on that front.
There is a slight improvement on that front, Chilasa, and you're right. It's a positive thing, but it's not the greatest thing when we look at the bigger scheme of things. Government is still paying quite a bit on interest costs alone, so there are some issues still around that, but you're quite right indeed. And if you hear some noise behind me, Chilasa, there is the South African Mine Workers Union, which is protesting outside on issues around wages and employment. And of course, on a day like this, where you've got leaders from various parties getting together, it's an opportune time for unions and members of those unions to come through and raise the various issues that they have. One leader I've got with me here is General Bantu Holomisa, is the leader of the UDM. General, many thanks for your time this afternoon. We've just been speaking to debt to GDP that the country faces, but another tough task that the minister has in front of him is the fact that there's been no economic growth, so very little room for him to maneuver in the current economic climate.
Well, we are not surprised that there is no room to grow our economy, given that since 1994 we have never had a sufficient consensus on what kind of macroeconomic policy we must have in this country. We have been moving from one crisis to the other, and on the other hand, the demands are growing. People are looking for jobs, the poverty levels are increasing, joblessness, as I've said, is on the increase. So what we need to do perhaps now is to reprioritize what we should be, what is happening in the country. Like, do we need to pay monies for X? Why don't we channel some of the monies and start creating jobs, industries, and so on? So the state intervention in the economy of South Africa has to be clarified. This thing of depending only on big business, private sector, it doesn't want to come on board. That we can see. So we have to converge under one roof one day and try and identify these pillars of our economy and emerge with a consensus to say, in the next 10, 15, 20 years, this is the route we are going to travel. But if you depend on the cabinet reshuffle, another minister comes, you expect that there's going to be a change. We're wasting our time.
Would a priority, General, be to turn the relief grant, the special relief grant of currently 350 Rand, into a universal basic income grant? Would that be one of the solutions?
Yes, we would support that. You'll remember in 1999 when we launched our party, it was in our manifesto, that income grant for the people of this country, especially the poor. But you see, sometimes some of the things you looked at them negatively, but you will find that the buying power, if it were to be introduced, let's say at 500 rands from 350 onwards, 500 rands each, that would also boost the economy because the buying power would be increased. But where I'm worried is who is manning these businesses, these shops in the rural areas. Are those people paying tax? No, it's going to other countries like Pakistan. So there's a lot which we need to look at here.
And I'm glad you bring up the issue of taxes, because there are concerns and debates around the tax base as it currently is. It's getting smaller and smaller, and there are fears that there'll be pressure put on consumers, perhaps with a VAT increase or things like that. Nothing obviously has been confirmed, but there are concerns that people would have.
Yeah, well, it's a country, this country is a free for all. Every Jack and Jill can come here and just open a spaza shop, and nobody is going to ask him or her, where are you coming from? Where is your tax certificate? Why are you here? And so on. So sooner or later, we are going to face revolt from our own people. If we might, if we are not already marching toward the second phase of the revolution. So people are fed up.
And of course they continue to be fed up as they are plunged into darkness now on a daily basis by Eskom. I don't even know how the minister would even begin to deal with this. Obviously it's just not his responsibility to manage, but when he's engaging with other stakeholders who are involved in Eskom, how do you even begin to solve something or fix something that looks like it's unfixable?
Well, you are aware that Eskom is in this quagmire precisely because of corruption in that institution. It was the ruling party, ANC, which brought its own investment company called Chancellor House, which got billions out of that. Those billions would have maintained that infrastructure. Now they are looking at accusing people, but they themselves, the ruling party, have been looting these SOEs. So what should we be doing now? Right now, this afternoon, we expect that the minister must pronounce on how is his 32 billion rands earmarked for solving the problems of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng based on the recent mayhem of July. Does that mean other projects which were budgeted for are going to be stopped, such as water, housing, and so on, and the infrastructure in general? A thing which was a problem of an internal infighting is costing the country now. So there is no leadership here, my sister. I've been saying that let us have an interim government. And people will remember me after 5 years. We are going down the slippery slope. There's no other way around.
We're going down a slippery slope, Thulas. Those are the words coming from General Bantu Holomisa, who is the leader of the UDM, indicating that the finance minister should focus on creating growth within the country so that employment can be created and so that South Africans can live better lives. And also, he says there's no leadership, Thulas, that there needs to be leaders who are responsible and take accountability for the actions that have happened, and of course finding a way forward, especially when it comes to economic growth.
Yeah, slippery slope is the metaphor that Bantu Holomisa goes with. And I suppose, Ropiwa, in terms of style, we'll be looking out to hear if the metaphors around plants continue with Enoch Godongwana, or did that end when the man from Mahubaskloof left National Treasury? Ropiwa Matsena, live for us outside Parliament. You can hear the members of the trade union. I believe it's SAMU, but I also think Ropiwa also spoke about the NUM, if I'm not mistaken. Well, at the very least, there are some people who are protesting outside there about a variety of issues in the country.